Welcome to On the Rec Yard, Women's Prison Podcast, where we are live on the... Hey, y'all, it is Wednesday night, and we are on the Rec Yard, Women's Prison Podcast. I'm Marcy Marie.
I'm Tunchi.
Tunchi, hi.
Man, what a day, Marcy Marie. What a day.
Already?
Already. Like, y'all see my new aquarium I put in?
Hey, I put that show on for my daughter's cat the other day because he was lonely, and he likes that show.
Well, I mean, what our viewers may have noticed already, and if y'all are just listening, Tunchi has rearranged her apartment again. Here's why, y'all, is that, and Marcy knows, a couple of meetings last week, my internet, like it was freezing. I was in meetings and it kept freezing up. It's because that corner over there that I'd made my little nook was not catching my Wi-Fi, no matter where I moved that router. So I had to move it by the window back where it was. Now, the original reason I moved it was for the audio, for the podcast. But guess what? I just got a really good headset, so it doesn't matter now.
It's all right, Tunch, because we have big things coming.
Don't start.
Listen here.
Okay,
Listen,
tell me.
this
You
is
tell it.
real. We're
All right.
about to record our professional intro and outro. That's coming up.
I mean, it is. Now we've put it on the schedule, and
Honey, I've already paid that jail where we're recording that money.
well, then
You better
y'all,
show up.
it's going down.
It's
Y'all are going to get a
happening.
new. Are we getting new graphics?
We're getting a whole new revamp. We're getting new graphics. We're getting new intro. We're getting new outro. The sponsors are coming. We're going to record together. Baby, moving forward in July.
So y'all, now when is the cutoff date? We need to tell our community here that they're going to have to go to Spotify or
July.
YouTube. July.
Well, yeah, we can, I mean, we need to talk about, because we have a lot of Apple, users. We don't want to just, but if you're watching us, you need to get to YouTube. Y'all get off it. Look, I love the book face. I'm not going to talk bad about them because they offer us a lot of support and community. But y'all have got to go. Our recorded episodes aren't going to be on there anymore after
Yeah.
July 1st, y'all.
I mean, Marcy may update our page there with little gems like me and my empty cupboard, But the video, if you're watching, it's only going to be on YouTube. If you're listening, it will be on the platforms. It'll be on Spotify and Apple and iHeart Music. Like, it'll be on all the audio places it is now. But this video streaming, it's only YouTube. Okay, we got to wean y'all off of those other places and get you here. That's how we grow. We can't grow if they're dispersed like this anymore. This was to bring our net, cast a wide net, like the Lord says, and then we just pulled you in.
And how fun it's going to be to have everybody in one spot. And I'm looking forward to it. Our content, it's still going to be us, but I think it's going to be elevated. And so I'm excited about that. Still community, still us, um, just with a little vroom vroom. Hey, speaking of, thank you for liking us. Tap that screen if you're watching on your phone. Leave a review if you're listening. Thank y'all for sharing this and all the wonderful things that you do, comments and all of that. And we're pre-recording right now because Tunch she has obligations this evening. So we're pre-recording, but I am in the comments with you.
Always lurking, always stalking and watching. A woman with BPD is always watching from a distance.
Big facts, 100% accurate. So we have a good show tonight, which we are talking about. Well, first of all, the Chrisleys. The Chrisleys got a full pardon.
Jesus.
A full pardon. And listen, we're going to get into that, all of that, but we're talking tonight about the ways that wealth and or fame and or influence affect your capabilities to get out of prison or capabilities to stay out of prison even.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna dive into some really interesting things, and I'm excited about that. Before we get there, let's do this. Hey, Tunch, how was your week?
Oh, well, how was your week? Because
I don't know.
we're in Chicago. We were in
Oh, we were
Chicago.
in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. We were.
So we had a good time at a conference. Another friend of ours, well, several people that we know were there, and it was good catching up with folks. Some of my favorite people, actually. And Chicago was cold. Stepped off that plane, and me and Alexa had to go find me a jacket. It was 50 degrees and raining.
Yeah, it rained almost the whole time.
It did.
I did get to ride the subway,
You
even
want
though
to
you're
tell everybody why?
well, we had a little bit of an issue with the
Yeah.
planes. With I thought that my plane and Tunchi's plane, and she thought it too, were leaving out of the same airport. So we traveled together in the Uber to that airport,
Yeah.
only to find out
Let me
my
tell
airport
y'all,
was
I want
across
y'all to
town.
listen to this, okay? That poor little Uber driver was a very nice man. And we were in the back seat just chatting away. And we get up to the airport where it was fixing to go to the arrivals. And he said, "What gate?" I said, "Southwest." For some reason in my head, you were on Southwest. So, and he was like, "Okay." And Marcy says, "No." Now, I'm doing
Because
it just
my
the way
plane
you
was
did it.
leaving first. My
She
plane was
said,
leaving first, so we would go to my gate first. That's why I got a little snassy.
"Oh, okay." But she says, American. And so he says, "American?" She said, yes, American." Like she was trying, look, she was real sweet about it, but I know my friend, and she was like, I could hear her mind saying, like, "Did you not hear me? Like American Airlines." And he turned around and he said, "Well, not here, you're not." We said, "Oh my God."
I
He
said,
said, "I'm
"Wait,
so
why not
sorry."
here? Why
He's like
not here?"
He's like, "American Airlines doesn't fly out of here. That's O'Hara, which is anybody who knows anything about Chicago, that's way on the other side of Chicago."
So
He
there I
he let
was.
us out and he said, "I'm so sorry this happened to you." And I said, "Well, how do you feel? Because in your mind, you were you were sassy with him, like he didn't know what he was talking about." But it was us. It was
It
us as usual.
Yes, we have to learn that by now. And I didn't say you made it awfully Karen-ish.
Honey, look, the thing about being truly self-reflective is that you were a little Karenish. I'm not saying a lot, but lightly. It
Anyways,
was
I made it home. I didn't take the subway. I love the subway. I love the experience. I love especially in Chicago, how it's above ground a lot. I love the L. I feel like I'm in an episode of Shameless. I love it. And you don't love it. And
I
so
get, like,
yeah,
sick. I get, like, seasick, like
you yeah, you bring me down. We can't take the L anywhere. We have to take an Uber. And so but I did get to ride the L back and then sit for 5 hours in the airport
God bless.
till
But
the
you got a
next
lot of
available
work
flight
done.
because I mixed my flight. I did. I got a lot of work done. Well, it was fun. Anything else?
I mean, am I missing something? Because 'Cause you're looking at me like I'm missing something.
No,
Um,
I don't know.
okay. No, I got home and, I went to go see Final Destination Bloodlines. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, but it was fun. And, then me and the kitty cleaned up several days of her Duke and
Oh
litter
my.
everywhere.
Oh my. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. And, then I moved everything around and bought me a new little footstool so that when you have to spend the night, you have something to really put your feet up on when you lay on this little couch.
Well, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Thanks.
It's a nice one. This is the top. So
Oh,
very
okay.
nice. That's what I
Fancy.
did.
Fancy. All right.
That was my Memorial Day. What did you do when you got back from Chicago?
We had well, I've been working at we're filming and just it's coming up. So just working on scheduling everybody and like it's crazy. Directing a film is nuts. You some talent can only work these hours on these scenes, and then you have to figure out which scenes require no lighting change. So you put all those scenes together, and then you film this part, and it's not in the order of the film, and it's you have to figure out that, and then you have to feed the crew and the talent, and then everybody's diet restrictions, and you have to map all that. Thank goodness for my mom helping me with that part, and then I mean it's wild the whole thing.
So
It's
does that
wild.
mean I get a free lunch when I as an
Yes,
extra?
I feed you.
What a joy.
Yes, you get a breakfast and a lunch.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
is it a
mine
granola bar and a carton of juice?
hey, it is my mom is working it
Oh,
out.
okay,
Right,
great. So
so
I
I'm
will
sure it will be wonderful.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
be hungry.
I told her, yeah, hot food, it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. So you guys just ready. Y'all be ready. This film is coming. Um, yeah, it's crazy.
Well, we're busy little beavers. I'd tell you that. Our session in Texas is almost over. Shout out to Linus. We did get one bill to the governor's desk. I mean, we educated people about it.
Yes.
So, but it was a terrible session. Texas is a tough place. But anyway, let's jump into this discussion.
Speaking of Texas is a rough place, how does money affect your chances in this criminal legal game?
Well, I think we all know that the more money you have, the better defense you get. With the better defense attorney, you get all the plethora of, research. What do they call them? Mitigation specialist and psychologist, and this robust um, quality defense versus someone that has a indigent um, attorney. You may not even get. They may not even call anybody to the stand.
So, I spoke at an event sometime recently for the Justice Reform Foundation, and they are based out of the DFW area here in Texas, and they started their, organization because please forgive me if I'm getting your name wrong and you're watching. I think Justin was wrongfully accused and incarcerated. So he has some wealth about him. Okay. He didn't say it, but there were signs. And let me tell you what the signs were. Like they had posted some of his letters from the jail, and they were like, I can't wait to be with you, sunsets in Italy again. Like these guys, these were very different than my letters from the county jail. Like, you know, I can't wait to curl up on the couch and watch a movie with you again. No, it wasn't that. Like, so anyways, what I'm saying is he was wrongfully accused. He must have not had bail or bond because he had to stay in the county jail for several months. During that time, of his family was able to afford um, a, a team of lawyers to really not only fight his case, but like investigate and see what actually happened, and then take all of that time that their hours that they billed thousands and thousands of dollars for to the DA's office and say, "Look, this is you're wrong. Here's all the evidence." But it cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get to that. And he pointed out at that event that if it was someone else, he'd have been in prison right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
He he acknowledged that, and and I spoke about what it means to have good counsel and good representation, and they've got a legal clinic that they've teamed up with the Texas A&M Law School, and they're offering, legal counsel to people, and it's an amazing program. But anyways, it definitely highlights, um, now money did not keep Todd and Julie Chrisley out of prison.
No,
Fame
and they
keep them out of
they
it.
they got, in my opinion, pretty hefty federal sentences for what they did. I mean,
And
7 years for her and 12 for him. I mean,
I'll tell you what, yes. Yes, I mean, it was $30 million.
didn't know it was that much.
30 million.
I thought it was a couple of 100,000. My bad, my bad.
Yeah, it
Now
was
and
a good chunk of change. Now, listen, feds don't dish out that much time. For a federal sentence, federal conviction, that was pretty hefty.
yeah.
I'm I'm saying I got 20 years for 367,000.
Well, and I think it's because for for money crimes, I mean, the federal system is a lot of, if we give you this sentence, you're gonna do a lot of it. And
Facts.
our judges and our DAs in Texas and our defense attorneys think that the parole system works the way that it's supposed to, right? Like my attorney said, "Oh, you've already done a year in jail. When you get there, you're going to see parole." And I'm like, "Yeah, but they're going to set me off probably 8 or 9 times." He was like, "Why would they, as long as you don't get in trouble?" Right?
Right,
So, like, there is this understanding that, well, hey, we may have gave this woman 20 years because we want to send a big message, but she sees parole right away, and like she just has to stay out of trouble.
then
That is
it's up to
not the
her.
case, right?
No,
It's up to her, and
100%.
that's not it at all.
Almost the opposite.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm with you with that. I also will note that I did not get, now it was shystiness going on is the reason I didn't. It wasn't just because someone was being nice, let's get that real clear, but restitution was not part of my, sentence. Restitution was part of the Chrisley's sentence. Part of that, I don't know the amount on the
Mhm.
restitution. I don't know if it was 30 million or if it was a portion or whatever, but restitution, they were sentenced to restitution. So now this full pardon.
They don't have to do anything. And this is the weird place that I think we still live in, of, well, at least for me. Let me say me.
Thank you for that.
Because yeah, because I mean, I do identify as an abolitionist, but I'm probably not the type of abolitionist that other abolitionists like, because I do believe in reformist things. Um, because I think it's, how do we? I still want to hear more about how do we have accountability without, um, what does that look like, right? Without harming people. Like, I don't think the Chrisleys should belong in a cage or a prison any more than I think you or I should have. That's not what heals people. That's not what creates public safety. It's not. And also this feeling of, well, good Lord, my friend got sentenced to 20 years for theft way, way smaller than that. And now these folks, because they're wealthy or they're well connected, they don't they're not, it's not even like, they're not gonna be held accountable at all. And that's what doesn't feel fair for people, is how do you have accountability without cages in prison, is a whole nother conversation, but then you see people with wealth and connection not have any accountability. Now that's makes people angry. That's what makes me angry. Not that I don't want the people to be in cages or prisons. I don't think that's gonna solve anything. But because they know somebody wealthy or powerful, well, just full pardon, and that's what bothers people.
And people are divided on that. I mean, people are my I just made a video saying, "I just found out." It just happened yesterday.
Mhm.
Just found out the Chrisleys got pardoned, and, like, wow, and here's some things that you should know, like, what does this entail? Number 1, like, are they gonna have to pay restitution? Number 2, their daughter, who is famous, a famous public figure, they were reality TV stars, a huge reality show, and, she, campaigned for this administration that pardoned her parents. It just the whole thing seems odd and off, and it's who you know, and how much money do you have, and how much clout do you have, and not necessarily and I don't want them in the prison, and I like the Chrisleys, I like their show, I like them. I they were in prison with their their kids. I watched, the aftermath. I followed the aftermath of their incarceration on their youngest son, and, their daughter had to help and step in, and even with all of that money and resources and whatever, that baby missed his parents,
Right.
you know? And no, I don't want him there. I don't want him there, but also, I don't want what about everybody else?
Right. That is it. And I think, Christy Puckett, posted something, was like, certainly, just a paraphrase, like, "Okay, great, and I know a lot of people that have been waiting a long time, um, to have relief," So it's like it's always the, disparity. It's always the unfairness, like, right, I think that's one of the values that a lot of us have is fairness, even though the world is not fair and life is not fair ultimately, but, um, just feels icky, feels grimy. Um,
Well, we were we were in, I mean, not in county jail with people that had that kind of clout, but we certainly went to court back and forth with people, and I'll just use the most recent, example, my a very close person to me, young lady was going back and forth to court, and I was taking her and being supportive of her, dealing with a felony charge, young, white, not wealthy, but had enough money to pay for a good attorney,
mhm,
going back and forth, and we watched. We would sit in the outside the courtroom, eavesdropping, quite frankly. I mean, you can't help but hear what's going on around you, but hearing other court-appointed attorneys or possibly even paid attorneys that were just not paid enough to really fight for you or didn't care enough to fight for you, I don't know which, um, just convincing them to sign, and one in particular instance just stands out at me, and the lady when the attorney left, the lady just burst into tears, like, "I didn't even do this, I shouldn't even be having to do this," but has no choice because what is the threat? If you don't sign this is why innocent people y'all don't believe me when I say nobody innocent would say they did something. Yes, the hell they
they
would. They
will.
do it all the time
Mhm, mhm.
because the threat of a trial, the way that they weaponize that when you're going back and forth to court, if this goes on, we're gonna push for this. Oh,
Oh,
if
yeah,
she doesn't wanna go to trial because then we're gonna ask for this. And it's a real threat. And when you have an attorney saying, "I don't know if I could get you off or not,"
right. Do you
you
gamble?
sign.
Yeah, it's a gamble. You wanna roll the dice? And I'll tell you, I have, also the perfect example, and I won't use her name, but she was a wealthy white lady that lived in, the Houston area. We could get into her case, but anyway, she, her lover killed her husband, and they thought that she had something to do with it. She's like, "I didn't. He just got tired of me being married," right? Like, I didn't tell him to do this, but they were dead set. This was way back in the '80s, and, oh, Kelly Siegler. Y'all don't know who Kelly Siegler is. Look Kelly Siegler up. She's a famous DA out of Houston. Um, but this was, back in the day. So, she had money. Now, was she the Chrisleys? No, but she was pretty decent off. Her family was from another state, and they got her an attorney, a good attorney. I don't think it was Dick DeGuerin. If again, there's a high-powered attorney in Texas, but it was someone of that caliber. And guess what, Marcy? She went first trial. It was hung jury. So the state says, "Well, giddy up, we go again." So guess what? She's got to pay for that attorney, and her now the money's starting to disappear. Her mom's having to figure out ways to pay for this attorney. Second trial,
Mm.
hung jury. They come back a third time and say, "We're going to try you again." She was like, "Jennifer, I had no choice. We were out of money. We had no ability to pay for another attorney." And this was under our old laws in Texas where we had mandatory supervision so that if you had good time, it actually mattered and you actually got out. So they offered her a 10. And she said, "I took it on the condition I could plead no contest," which means I'm not saying I'm guilty. I'm not saying I'm not, just no contest. She goes, "That was the only way I could do it. I couldn't write. I didn't feel good about just straight up pleading guilty." She said, "But quite frankly, if they'd have pushed me on that, I would have had to because we have no more money for an attorney. And
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I get a court appointed attorney facing a murder charge." They dropped the charges down.
Mm.
And that's how they played ball with her. But the amount of money that the state doesn't care. They'll keep pouring money into it.
Yeah.
And it's like at the end of the day, money talks and bullshit walks. And that little lady had no choice. She didn't want to roll that dice. And I know lots of people, and lots of people being locked up in Texas that they did roll that dice and ended up with 30, 40, 50 years when they could have just signed for something lesser. But they didn't have any money, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter if they were guilty or not. I'm
Yeah.
not fitting to go in front of that jury.
Yeah. No.
It's wild. I remember when she told me this when I was younger, because I was like 18, 19, and I just couldn't believe it. So everything hinged on whether you hadn't enough money to go to a trial for the third time. She was like, "Yeah." So I just signed.
Mm. Well, yeah, I'm going back and forth. So there was discrepancies in my case, regarding the amount, and it would have made my charge go down from a first-degree felony to a second-degree felony had I been charged for what was actually taken. And so I remember trying to convince my attorney, like, "Let's look into this. This is how you can find it." My knowledge of attorneys was from TV, where you see them, like, doing this investigation for their client, and that's not I'm not saying they're not all this there are some of those out there, but mine was not one of them. He was not investigating squat. He was having drinks with the DA's office after work. So, um, anyways, yeah, and that threat, that was a very real threat of, "We're just gonna keep going up and up and up. We're not going under this, and now we're gonna start looking at other people and see how we can jam them up." Threatened my husband at the time. We're gonna go ahead and put this on him also, even though he had nothing to do with it. And what else do? You sign. You don't have enough money. I didn't even have enough money to get out the county jail. Sure didn't have enough money to fight them. Going back and forth to court in handcuffs and shackles.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. It really is. class, right? It is the class struggle. It is the haves and the have-nots. Now, I mean, we do know wealthy people and famous people that, I mean, they couldn't, they ultimately could um, not be held accountable for what the things they've done. But it feels like that's not often, you know. I mean, look at Donald. I mean, it it it's unfair, and I think again that's what bothers people is that because justice is supposed to be blind and balanced. And I mean, when you look at bail, right? Like wealthy people can make bail if somebody wealthy has a $200,000 bond or $1 million bond, they just pay it. I knew lots of women in Fort Bend County Jail that were sitting there on bonds that big that couldn't leave.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
didn't eat you know, they had already lost the little jobs that they had, and they were there for crimes of third party stuff, meaning their boyfriend did something, and they're there on this huge, gigantic bail, and they weren't even the ones that committed. They were just by association. So she's lost her job. Who's taking care of her kids? But if she was wealthy, well, then she could afford it and get out.
yeah.
Well, that doesn't feel fair.
No, 100%. It's not. Man, we talk about these. I'm just thinking about some of the comments on things when I've talked about bail on social media, um, and how there are literally people that are like, "No, it's a threat for them to get out." Well, then why is there an option for anybody to get out?
Right.
It's
Well,
literally not about safety. It's 100% about money.
right. Because if it what makes that one woman I just talked about who's sitting in her cell because she can't afford her bail, her $1 million bail, versus the person that can. And you know, I don't remember what true crime book it was. It was an Ann Rule book. I don't remember which one it was, and it talked about the guy that had done this murder. Um, he made his bail, and it was a big one, but his family was wealthy, and she's talking about how people in the community would see him at the bar, they would see him at
Just living it,
restaurants,
yeah,
just
just living
living in
life.
the community, and everybody's angry and mad, and this isn't right, this isn't fair, and it's like, well, that's our bail system. This
Yeah.
wasn't about, you know, it wasn't about public safety. He could afford it.
Yeah, no, it's 100% about, and there's organizations that do like a Mother's Day bailout, and the feedback that on some of their posts about we were able to bail out for Mother's Day. We got 10 mothers out of jail reunited with their children, and people were hating on that. But those same 10 mothers, if they could have just afforded bail, they would have been out anyway.
Right.
Why are you mad that they're out?
right.
It's literally if they had it or not. Makes no sense to me, or that people just don't genuinely don't understand that that's how the system works, but that's how it works, y'all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what we always run into. It's just that people as a whole do not understand how our government works. They don't understand how our court systems work. They don't understand what prisons are like. They don't understand immigration. They don't understand any of that. They're what do they call them? Armchair warriors. They just sit in their fucking love seats. They're lazy boys and sit on social media all day and have no idea how any of this actually works.
Well, and if you don't, fine. Live in your little bubble and shut the hell up on my TikTok videos. Go live in your little bubble of justice and righteousness in your own head, but stop throwing your foulness around your uneducated comments. Y'all, it's wild. I'm not talking about the folks that just want more information or want to offer me a piece of information that they think maybe I don't have. Bring it on. Let's talk. But don't just
Just
What?
talk out your ass.
Yes. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Mothers that are in county jail not found guilty that they have a bail set because a judge has decided that they are safe enough to be in their communities. They just don't have the money to get out. Let them out. God, no. I don't I wish that I don't know. I mean, the fact of I mean, and we money, fame, clout, I mean, the color of your skin, all of these things play a really big factor in what would happen to you if you got arrested for something, whether you committed a crime or not.
Well, and Marcy, wealth just doesn't factor into, are you going to get, you know, convicted and arrested because the quality of your legal counsel. It's also the quality of your life while you're in prison. It's
Mm.
also the quality of your reentry journey, right? People who were well resourced with money have very different experiences. They're not hustling inside of prison trying to, because at a place like Texas, you don't get paid for your work. So, um, and the state doesn't provide very much in terms of hygiene or food. So you got to go to commissary, and we all know those ladies and those women that had their pen pals who were nice people. They had a different experience. They lived as comfortably as a person could incarcerated. And if you don't have money in jail and prison, what a miserable. I remember writing my brother and telling him that one time. I said, "I- the level of misery that one has inside of a jail or prison without any access to money to be able to care for yourself or provide things that bring you joy, like a goddamn cupcake from commissary, like it makes life even worse in here."
And you have to break the rules to get your basic needs met. And I mean basic needs like deodorant, toothpaste. I mean, you have to literally break rules and risk punishment because whatever hustle you're doing, it's illegal. I'm not talking about K2 and slinging dope. I'm talking about
Washing clothes and
washing people's
artwork and
clothes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then let's take it right out the gate, right? If you can afford a parole attorney, which to me is real hit or miss in Texas, but the data from some of our partners shows that yes, it does actually help just a little bit. So then you have representation upon parole, and what does your reentry journey look like? Well, it looks like perhaps a place to stay and a vehicle and not having to go to work right away. Like, it just makes that person's experience in the criminal legal system, if they actually end up there, much more different because they have the resources. So how do we move those resources in the community to people? I
Mm.
mean, I think it's groups like ours. I think it's some of our partner groups, but certainly little scrappy nonprofits don't have the type of funding and money um, to provide for everyone. And I feel like it is the responsibility of people with great wealth to whom much is given, much is expected. It's a responsibility. Now, some people don't view that way. They're like, I made this money, I ain't got to share it with nobody, and fuck you.
If you're ruffling some feathers right now, somebody right now just heard you say that and got their little undies tied
Well,
up
I
in a
mean, it
bunch.
right, because it's not even just about the criminal legal system. It's about society as a whole, right? Like in America is very individualistic, and um, n- other cultures are not. And so it's like I had these arguments in prison a lot, Marcy, like toe to toe with people. Like, okay, if if this is your money and you made this income from your work and your labor or your family's labor of generations of wealth or whatever, Do you feel a responsibility to care for other people who do not have? No, I don't, because this is ours and we made it and nobody's entitled to it. And it was like, yes, and there should still, at least I expect you to feel some type of sense of it is my responsibility, um, to be able to help the community with that wealth. Well, and it's not even about do they deserve it or not. Because I remember somebody one time was like, "Well, if they're working and they're doing what they're supposed to," and I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe this person doesn't, and maybe they." I don't. So you're just going to let them die from diabetes just because they don't have good work ethic? Yeah. Well, I I don't I don't describe to that, right? Like I think it does make people angry to say, "Well, why should I give to others when they don't do for themselves?" Well, maybe you don't think they do, right? But I just think it's a responsibility of people that have wealth and resources to share them. Not as a almost, let me not say that. Not as a way that, let me just not. I don't want to get too political right now, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it should be both. It should be the community and the individual. It should be, yes, you earn this money and it's yours and you get to decide what to do with it. And also, you should feel a deep responsibility to use that ethically.
Well, I think that, I mean, that coming together as a community and caring for one another as a community, everywhere, everyone contributing to the community doesn't necessarily mean going to a 9 to 5 job and scouring away a bunch of money to spend on a bunch of crap at Amazon that you don't need. Like, I mean, I'm just saying that that shouldn't be. Why did somebody at some point said that is the level of the success?
Right.
That's, and so that's part of it. But then also kind of this lack of empathy as a whole that a lot of folks have for that everybody has a backstory. Like I didn't meet one person in prison that was like, "Oh, I just love my life out there and I'm going to go right back to it." Like, no, it was all of this stuff happened to me and I got caught up in this stuff and ended up doing this. Like there's this backstory. And once we start looking at the whole picture and not just, well, I pulled up my bootstraps and went to work, every day. I don't know. And I hear a lot of people come for me when I talk about my family and um, my grandparents, my granddad worked hard his whole life. He worked hard and ended up, I live in a home because he worked hard. I live in a nice home because my granddad worked hard. And also he had privilege. Like both of those things are true. He had privilege as a white man in this country and he worked hard, and he acknowledged that both of those things were true. I don't know, just this narrow way of thinking really creates a lot of barriers for, I mean, really for everybody, even wealthy people. It creates this way of thinking, keeps us from really being whole as a community.
Yeah. And there are some wealthy people that do it really well. And there's some that don't, and I think it's this balance of how do you how do you honor what is yours and what you've worked really hard for while being able to share resources with other people that empowers them and doesn't enable them. And there's the rub, right? Like, how do you do that? And I think sometimes that can be really tricky of how to balance that. But I mean, I think that's the way that people that have are supposed to empower the community, right? Like to take what they have and empower others with it. For those of you who are Christian, Jesus didn't eat that bread and them fishes out of that basket and be like, "Oh well, this crowd of people that came, I don't know what to tell them," right? He multiplied it. He did not eat himself, right? His disciples did not eat. They multiplied it. You know, um, and it didn't go on to say that they did that every day, but it did empower people's faith, right? So whatever we're sharing in resources is meant to empower people, not to enable them. Um, and to also for us to be proud of the things that we have for ourselves. And I just think it just makes people really angry to think that somebody did something wrong that broke society's rules or laws, and they're getting out of it or away from it or not accountable for it because they have a whole bunch of money and wealth that they don't share with anybody else, that it's just for them. And well, it's my out of jail free card. That is what makes people really angry. And the confusion about how our bail in our system in other systems work.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Well, and sometimes you even hear people say, people who were wealthy that made their bail, they're angry. And I'm like, well, and also that is our system according to the Constitution, that we have bail. It's the law.
Right.
Does it favor the wealthy often? Yes, but it is. How are y'all getting mad at the very laws that we have? Then change them. I don't know. People are crazy. I just don't understand the cruelty when it comes to people who don't have. It's this idea that they don't have because there's something inherently morally wrong with them. That's how the poor and people in poverty have been seen. I don't For as long as humankind has existed, and that's like you said. There's so much backstory, and who had privilege, who had the ability, who had the opportunities. It Opportunities are not created equal in this country. They're not. Some have to work really hard to find opportunities, while others, it's just landed at their feet.
I have my great uncle and my great aunt, my uncle, my all the men in my family were bricklayers. Not my papa, but they laid brick, they were masons, they were very blue collar outdoor workers, hands in the dirt workers. And I remember he moved to a neighborhood that was bougie. His kids were me and my brother's age. And I remember a conversation that my parents were having with him. And he said, because I want my kids to see this life, I'm moving them to a neighborhood I can barely afford and really stretching because I want them to see themselves in that neighborhood and that to be the expectation. Because what we know is kids that grow up without seeing other things, kids that grow up in $1 million house, they expect to grow up and live in $1 million house. Kids that grow up in Section 8 housing and see that their whole lives, that's what they grow up thinking that they will have. You have to expand that view of the world for I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is this is why the folks that we would get locked up with, that had grown up with a lot of wealth and privilege their whole life, are just appalled and shocked,
Yeah.
and very um stomping their feet. And it's like, girl, this bologna sandwich is what we're getting today.
Mhm.
And well, I don't eat this type of meat. Girl, I grew up eating this. And I'm not saying that it was the value of the nutrition was right in the jail. I'm just saying the level of um expectation. Maybe that's not the right word. It's an E word. It's an E word.
I don't know, but I'm just thinking of someone in particular that yeah, I mean, just yeah, the mattress is this. No, you can't buy another mattress. Like, this is what
Right.
this is what you're getting this
Entitled. Entitled.
entitled.
That's the word I'm
Yes.
looking for. People that and again, that's what makes people angry, right? Like the level of entitlement, um, that some folks with wealth would feel when they encounter the criminal legal system, that is outrageous. And I don't believe in demonizing people with wealth. We have folks in our circle that have been gracious, wonderful, beautiful human beings and allies, that have done just what we said, to be able to share resources and to empower. And I deeply admire and respect that. I will tell y'all as we're wrapping up close to an hour that there was I wish Alexa was here to tell this story. It was at Mountain View, and it was a lady who came from a very affluent background that had never experienced a whole lot. She was, Alexa, if you're watching, I could get it wrong, a cellist, maybe, or a pianist. I think it was a cellist. And so Marcy, she was getting rode up all the time because she wouldn't go to work. She wouldn't go to the kitchen because they'd put her in like the dishwashing room, right? And so the officers come in and they're like, "You need to get up and go to work." And she's Alexa said, this lady stood up and she goes, "These are the hands of a cellist." They said, "I don't give a fuck." And so she ended up getting rode up. Like, she went all the way down to fucking cell block and everything because she just wouldn't do it. She's like, "I'm not messing my hands." And so whenever, like, me and Alexa would see somebody being kind of bougie or entitled, Alexa would say, "These are the hands of a cellist." So now all y'all can use that whenever you're in an Uber with a woman who's getting dropped off at the wrong airport, and
Oh, I
she's like,
wasn't like that. I wasn't I didn't
You
feel
you were.
entitled. I felt like, why is he not
You just were
understanding what
confused.
American Airlines is? American, you're an Uber driver who frequently drops people off at the airport. You ask what terminal, I tell you
And
American.
he was confused, like, "What?
He was confused.
These are the hands of a cellist. Drop
Oh
me
my
off at
god.
American Airlines. I don't
Well,
care. Make the terminal here. I don't."
Todd, Julie, welcome home. Whenever I don't know how long that process takes. I don't think your feet are on the ground yet, but it could be. I don't know. Uh, we're glad you're home.
I'm glad when
Do
anybody gets out of a cave.
yes. Yes.
Now, that being said, I did not like the Chrisleys,
Oh, what?
and I sure don't like that their family supported the dump.
Well, I did like the show. I
No,
liked
girl,
the
that was a
show.
it was so I just hated it. He it was, I don't know, there was something about it that just made me wanna rip my face off.
Oh
It
my.
felt fake. It felt fake, and
Well,
it's
it
reality
was.
TV, and I
It
know it's scripted, but
yeah.
it just felt over the top fake.
Well, we can agree to disagree on that one. Anyways, we wanna know, is Chrisley's Knows Best? Is it back on? Or are y'all coming back? Like, what's the whole we'll have to find out, and I guess you don't care, but I do.
No, I'm not, won't be following or watching, and, um, I support I support the the other more gritty folks like poor Casey Anthony and, um, what's the other girl's name?
Gypsy Rose?
Gypsy Rose. I'm fond of those girls because I just think they're chaotic, traumatic messes.
Now, do you watch Gypsy Rose's show?
I haven't watched the show, but I watch her TikTok and her little drama with her men and stuff. I do. And poor
Okay.
Casey did drop that one TikTok and then burn off. Y'all be
I'm
scaring the hell out of that lady. She be trying to do her little legal advocacy and be proud of the work she's doing and trying to put something good in this world, and y'all just run her back into the woods.
I'm telling you, every time she has a bill that she can't pay, she just pops on TikTok, makes
I
her
don't
little
think
money.
that's what it is. She has a job. She's had a job as a legal researcher for years. She be trying to think, well, maybe this is the moment people have really honored that I was found not guilty, and that They see the work I'm doing. Nope, this ain't it. They hate
Is
me.
it in the
Goodbye.
time? Casey, just change your name, honey, and go live your life.
She not
Off
gonna do
off
that.
the social media. No, she's not, but okay. We gots to go. We gots to go. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Um, we can't wait to see the comments on this video because I think we might have ruffled some feathers and stirred some pots. But you all leave your comments, share, like, all the good stuff. We love y'all. We will see you same time, same place next week. See you soon. Thank y'all for hanging out with us on the Rec Yard Women's Prison Podcast with Marcy